the Times understands that not even the King or the Palace knew that this was going to happen this morning. I mean, we know it was early hours. We know, it was Andrew's 66th birthday, so it's quite a remarkable thing to come out of the blue.
Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor has been arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office. The arrest took place at 8 a.m. this morning at the King's Sandringham estate in Norfolk, where Andrew has been staying. It comes on the former Prince's 66th birthday. The King released a statement in response to the arrest. It's been voiced by one of our production staff.
I have learned with the deepest concern the news about Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor and suspicion of misconduct in public office. What now follows is the full, fair and proper process by which this issue is investigated in the proper manner and by the proper authorities. In this, as I've said before, they have our full and wholehearted support and cooperation. Let me state this clearly. The law must take its course. As this process continues, it would not be right for me to comment further on this matter. Meanwhile, my family and I will continue in our duty and service to you all. Charles.
And I do have to reassure you, that was not the King in the Times radio studio. But here's what Keir Starmer said to BBC earlier prior to the arrest.
One of the core principles in our system is that everybody is equal under the law and nobody is above the law. And it is really important that that is applied across the board.
Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor denies all wrongdoing. From Sandringham, I'm now joined by Times newsroom reporter Ollie Cole. Ollie, can you give us the latest?
Yeah, well, we've just seen, Seb, a couple of unmarked cars head into Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor's, where he lives here on the Sandringham estate in Wood Farm. There's been sort of dribs and drabs of those all day. The first one's this morning in a sort of grey, pretty cold, pretty rainy Norfolk at about 8 a.m. There was a flurry of unmarked vehicles heading onto Wood Farm, the morning, of course, of Andrew's 66th birthday. And there they were captured by a photographer. Obviously, there was a lot of interest in what was happening so early in the morning here, and at 10 o'clock we got confirmation from Thames Valley Police that they had indeed arrested Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor on suspicion of misconduct in public office. Now, like you say, that is a very, very rare event, and throughout the day we have seen unmarked cars heading in and out of Andrew's residence here and his former residence in Windsor. The police will now be going through files, going through his home, going through the items that he owns to try and collate evidence and work out where to take their inquiries next. Andrew was taken to police custody. Thames Valley Police are being supported here by Norfolk Constabulary, so we're not sure whether he is in a cell currently under the Thames Valley Police, which might be, sort of Milton Keynes sort of way, or under Norfolk Constabulary. But there he will be questioned by police for the next 24 hours potentially. They have to charge him. They can also apply for a bit of an extension if they need it to the magistrates. Up to 96 hours they can have if they feel they need it to question Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor. But here, essentially a hive of activity. Police in and out, police around the entrance, and the world's media now descending on Sandringham and the Sandringham estate to find out where this pretty massive story goes next.
One of the most incredible things about this, Ollie, is how unexpected it appears to be. Was there any sense of anticipation that this arrest was going to happen?
So the Times understands that not even the King or the Palace knew that this was going to happen this morning. I mean, we know it was early hours. We know, it was Andrew's 66th birthday. So it's quite a remarkable thing to come out of the blue. I mean, those pictures when they emerged this morning from a local news photographer here, they were taken just sort of in the churchyard next to me, looking onto the estate. Those few pictures sort of made their way to the press, and at that moment there was a question as to what is going on, and are those people taking Andrew away, and is that a flurry of police activity. But apart from that, it was pretty out of the blue then, until we found out at 10 o'clock that he had indeed been arrested. Like I say, we understand that the King and the Palace weren't aware. They've gone about their duties today. The King has been at London Fashion Week. Princess Anne is on a visit to a prison in Leeds. You've got Camilla out and about as well, the Queen. So it's been a sort of they've attempted to keep it a day as normal, the royal family, but it's very much not been as normal here. It's very much a sort of carnival of media frenzy here in Sandringham.
And Ollie, what's the UK political reaction been? Because as you said, this thing really is quite unprecedented.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, we got those comments this morning, early hours of this morning, from the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, saying that justice must run its course. It's now, of course, pretty hands-off from the political class in terms of what happens next. There's a lot of laws and rules about someone being taken in for police questioning and arrested, and there being an active inquiry ongoing. So there's not much that they can say. But the Prime Minister this morning sort of echoing what the King had to say later, which is, you know, this is the law now and justice must run its course. The police must continue unabated. David Lammy, the Justice Secretary, has been asked about it at an event as well today, and you know, he has said, you know, it's right that the police are carrying on with their inquiries without fear or favour, and that you know, they're allowed to do so. So they'll be pretty much hands off. But we know that you know, we've had this massive tranche of Epstein files from the Department of Justice in the US, which has caused shockwaves not only among the royal family but also in you know, the political spheres and in Westminster as well. So it feels like as police inquiries continue, you know, you would be a foolish politician to take your eye off very real, very fast moving events.
That was Ollie Cole, Times newsroom reporter. Now, joining me is Jess Sharkey, the Times' crime correspondent, who is in Windsor. Jess, can you talk us to this suspicion in misconduct in public office? Is that the only charge that Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor has faced?
He is arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office. That is all we've had from Thames Valley Police this morning, who confirmed a man in his 60s from Norfolk had been arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office. He has not yet been charged. We are unsure of when or if that will happen. He is currently still in police custody until further confirmation.
And what are the next steps, legally speaking?
So the next step is police can keep him in police custody for up to 24 hours. We are not sure if he will be kept in overnight yet. It could then be days or weeks before the CPS will charge him, or if they will. It is still, he understood not to have spoken to detectives yet. We should hopefully be getting updates on that.
And in the case of arrest, usually the identity is not revealed. And I think in the statement from the police, it did not have his identity. Why is it different in this instance?
As Ollie mentioned earlier, there was a large press presence at Sandringham Estate earlier today. The Thames Valley Police, as is standard, and as you mentioned, has not named Andrew as the suspect who has been arrested, but there was photographs, press were here. It is public interest.
Well, that was Jess Sharkey, the Times' crime correspondent, speaking to us from Windsor. Now, the arrest of the former prince marks a historic moment in modern royal history. And to help us understand this further, I am now joined by Ed Owen, royal historian and author of After Elizabeth, Can the Monarchy Save Itself? Good afternoon, Ed.
Good afternoon.
So, at the beginning of the programme, I went back to Charles I and saying it was hundreds of years since we had probably seen anything like this. Is that true, or are there any other more recent precedents I might have missed?
There aren't any more recent precedents. This is the first time that a member of the British royal family has been put under arrest by the British police force. I think you referenced before King Charles I, almost 400 years ago, put under lock and chain, but of course the British police force didn't exist back then. So no, this is very unique, and I don't think the comparison with King Charles I really bears scrutiny because, of course, this is a very modern tale.
Now, what does this mean in terms of where the royal family is? Because this story has been dragging on for quite some time now, and King Charles III has been trying to keep on top of events. Is that what, were they ready for this, and how are they going to react? Because, as you said, it is a very big moment.
Well, as you say, King Charles III has worked hard over the last 3 or 4 months to try and get on top of this, but has done so belatedly. You know, the royal family have been behind public opinion, have been behind the media narration of this event over the last 6 years. It was at this point that the king acted, defenestrated his brother, deprinced him, if you like, and did everything he could to exclude Andrew from the wider royal family. So, you know, action has been taken, but taken belatedly. Now we're in crisis management mode again, and I think it is a very real crisis.
And I was very taken out by the King's statement today, particularly that last line when Charles III said, "We will continue to serve you." And I think that reflects the pressure the royal family is feeling under this, because there was once upon a time that if a member of the royal family went on one of their frequent walkabouts, if they got booed, that would be seen as a significant moment. I think the King was booed twice last week when he was out doing his duties. So clearly it feels that Buckingham Palace is trying to reflect that strength of feeling. And Ed might have just temporarily frozen there as we were going through those questions. And we have Ed back with us.
Yep. So just picking up on that, Seb, this is clearly a difficult moment for the king, as you said. Recently booed on a number of occasions during public walkabouts. I think again, it just suggests that there is public pressure for him to have taken firmer action in this instance, and he has come out today with this very important and personal statement saying that, you know, the investigation must run its course. And that we must wait to hear from the police as to next steps, but that the royals are getting on as normal, that this is business as usual, and they will do all they can to if you like, to retain and promote a sort of united front despite this difficulty with Andrew.
And in your book, Ed, talking about after Elizabeth, she was obviously such a defining monarch for the 20th and 21st century. How do you feel the royal family is going to change and adapt? Because, as you said, it's not often that a monarch has to face something that happens every couple of 100 years in their history. And it does feel as if they were to go on business as normal, then that might not do the family any favours. What sort of things do you think they should do and how they should react?
Well, I think this is important that we do draw attention to Elizabeth II. She was a very effective sovereign for most of her reign, but at the same time, there were clearly blind spots, and there is a growing pressure both within the media, among journalists, and the public for this institution of monarchy to be just much more transparent in terms of how it goes about its daily business, its interaction with Westminster, the personal lives of royal personnel. This has been a blind spot for the monarchy for some time, and I think if King Charles wants to ensure the future success of this institution, then greater transparency around finances, around the power behind closed doors at the palace, in relation to the personal lives of, as I say, members of the royal family, all of this will be crucial if the monarchy is to thrive and survive.
Well, that was Ed Owen, author of After Elizabeth, Can the Monarchy Save Itself?